Thanks, Mike. Sorry, pressing all the buttons at once. Brenden, for two questions for you. First of all, how close does the World Cup really feel now? How real does it feel? And second of all, how's your rhythm, going with Leeds not having played a game now for a couple of weeks, and these being the first games you'll play for a little bit. Thanks.
Yeah. Good question. I mean, it's always good being back with the guys and getting back into the swing of things. But yeah, I mean, I've had some time off, so it's been kind of tough not being able to get back in the swing of things. But we've had some inner squads and we've been training hard, so I feel ready to go. And what was the first part of your question again? Sorry.
Just how close does the World Cup feel now, being 2 months away, and these are the last preparation games for the national team? Thanks.
Yeah, and for that part, I think that, I mean, it's crazy to think how close the World Cup is in the back of your head, With Leeds at the moment, I really haven't had a chance to really think about it, but it's really growing. I mean, seeing the guys again and thinking like, wow, this is the last two games before the World Cup comes, it comes at you fast. But I think the preparation and what we've done over the past years, I think we're all ready to go and we're looking forward to it.
Next week, Paul Tenorio from The Athletic.
Michael, I got one for each of you guys. Brenden, first, how different is it for you when you're playing centrally for this team, especially if you were to step in with Eunice out? Do you try to play like him, or does Greg ask different things of you when you're in there? And how different is it than when you're out on the wing? Does Greg ask you to play high and wide out there? And then, Matt, I just wonder kind of how you feel, how much you've grown in your time at Arsenal, and where you think you've grown, because Greg talked about the fact that he spoke with your coaches and they felt like you've come a long way. I wonder if you could dive into maybe where you think you've grown at Arsenal. Thanks.
Go first.
No, you're already talking to me.
I'll say that, I mean, for Eunice's sake, I mean, it's a shame that he couldn't get the camp. I know all of us miss him. He's a great character to have around the team, and it's tough not having him here, and he's a fantastic player. So, I mean, I don't try to replicate my game after his. I think we have different qualities, and for me playing the midfield, I know that there's things that I do differently than Eunice, and I think that I can get better in some things in the midfield. And positionally wise, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I think I like playing both positions in different games. I think different games ask different players different just opinions on the game and stuff like that. But as a midfielder, I know that I can get better at some things than as a winger. So I'm looking forward to see what happens.
Yeah, for me, I think my game has come a long way since I began at Arsenal. I'd say really, obviously, just the speed and intensity of everything every single day. Mikel doesn't accept anything except full gas at training sessions, so you have to bring it every single day or else you get found out pretty quickly out there on the pitch. So for me, it's the consistency that I have to bring every day in training, being ready for moments where I'm going to be able to get to play. And overall, just like the speed, technical execution of things, making saves against world-class players every day in training, sometimes getting found out by world-class players in training, but all the while learning. And I think the big thing for me was I had a meeting recently with my goalkeeper coach where we looked at videos from my first few days of training and then videos from my last few days of training, because I think it's easy for us to get caught up in the moments, but looking back then to now, the difference in a goalkeeper that I am is huge, and I've changed massively, and I'm looking forward to, representing the country again and having these opportunities to hopefully show everybody else as well.
Next will be Jeff Carlisle from ESPN FC.
Thanks, Michael. My question is for Matt. Kind of piggybacking on Paul's question a little bit. How much sharpness can be maintained by just training when maybe you're not getting as much game time as you would like? I mean, how sharp are you able to be, given that situation?
It depends on how you approach training, I'd say. If you're in it just to stroll about and you don't think that you can change your situation no matter what you do, then you'll lose a lot of that sharpness. But I don't know how much you know about me or my story, but That's not really the kind of way that I operate. Every single day I go to training, I'm going to try to get better, to try to learn and improve, and try to get myself onto the field. So if it depends on how you look at your situation and view your comfort levels. And for me, I want to continue to get better. I know that my ceiling has not yet been reached, and it's going to take some hard work, obviously some risky career moves at the end of the day. But if I want to get to where I want to get to, I need to get outside of my comfort zone a little bit, and that's going to help my sharpness every single day and my approach to the game in general.
Next will be Ron Blum from the Associated Press.
Hey, for both Brenden and Matt, looking back at qualifying, the team played a lot of good games here and there, but faulted itself for not being able to really sustain putting together top performances 2-3 in a row. Why do you think, looking back, that occurred, and how do you remedy that going into the World Cup?
I'd say that this World Cup qualifying cycle was pretty unprecedented in terms of the amount of games that we played in such a short period of time, sandwiched amongst a schedule where we are already playing tons and tons of games with our club team. So I think if you look back at our results, a lot of times where our results sort of floundered was those middle games, those second games, unless they were at home. So like when we played home, away, then home, sometimes it was hard to go on the road after a game, 2 days rest play, then you come back. Sometimes that second game you needed the boost from the home crowd to sort of get you going a little bit. So it was a challenging qualifying cycle. It was different. There was nothing ever like it before. I don't think in the history of it. So I think we learned a lot about ourselves because of the pressure cooker nature of it. And I'd say that that's going to help us sort of remedy all that because we created those bonds, because we were sort of put into the ringer and put to the test and put under a really stressful situation for a young group. I think that's a huge positive.
Brandon?
He answered that pretty well. That's what I have to say. But no, I mean, listen, I mean, it's a young group to begin with. I know a lot of I mean, it was my first time going through a qualification process, and it was a lot of the guys. I know Matt's too, but yeah, I mean, it was tough. It was challenging. Like he said, 3-game weeks, not going on a lot of rest. I mean, I was traveling from Europe, you're going through time changes. You're then going from Austin, Texas to El Salvador. There's so many little things that go into it. I know you're kind of come up with things that you're complaining a little bit about it, but it's all factors, it's all factors and goes into the way that you play. And I think for me, the hardest part were these away games. I think it's something as a learning group where we have to take, and it's not going to be pretty sometimes, playing in El Salvador, playing in Jamaica, playing in these places. So it's almost like rolling up your sleeves and doing the dirty work. And I think that's something we can do better as a team.
Next will be Daniel Chanona from Univision.
Hi, Michael. Thank you very much. My question is for Matt. Matt, could you tell us how much your life has changed in the last 4 months? Now you are a father, and you have the opportunity to play the UEFA Europa League. How are you feeling?
Thank you for asking about that, because it has been a lot. Since the beginning of this year, really, it's been kind of a roller coaster. Obviously, sidelined with injury for 3 months, missing out on that last stage of the World Cup qualifying cycle was really challenging. I felt like I was a big part of the team, and to miss out on the celebration of it all was really, really hard. And then turn around and play that last round of games with the national team in June while my wife was already in London preparing to have a baby. My mind was elsewhere a little bit, and then obviously having our baby and then leaving to go to preseason with Arsenal in the U.S. It's been, the first 6-7 months were really, really challenging, but I now feel like I've settled into a routine, settled into London really, really nicely. And I'm so grateful for my wife. She's been my rock through pretty much everything. The highs, the lows, the ups and downs. Like I said, I take training very seriously, so if I have an off day, she's there to pick me up. She's a huge reason for for my ability to sort of navigate through all this time, all the while being an amazing mother and helping raise our child. So yeah, it's been a lot. Playing in the Europa League was a nice box to tick, and I felt like after the first 5 minutes, I sort of settled into the game, and I felt really, really good about how I did. So sort of continue moving forward and focus on these 2 games, and then from there we have 13 games between the end of this break and the World Cup. So busy times ahead.
Next will be Henry Bushnell from Yahoo.
Thanks, Michael. And actually, to follow up on that previous question a bit, but for both of you guys, for both Matt and Brenden, how is life in England in general? Like, what type of stuff have you guys gotten to do or try away from the pitch? And there been any big adjustments?
Yeah, I'll go first because mine's pretty. It's different from Nat's, I would say. I mean, I have been on the golf grind. I have a little bit of a golf plug right now. Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky because the area I am, there's like 5 golf courses, just different ones, and they're all over the place too. So it's been fun. I mean, also having Tyler there, it's been good. Like getting used to the area, being able to go get food together. You know,
It must be nice.
Yeah,
Must be nice.
Yeah, it definitely.
I'm changing diapers and he's out golfing and getting food with Tyler. It must be nice.
Yeah, that's why I said it's a big difference. But yeah, no, it's good, and it's awesome country to begin with, and yeah, it's different, but it's awesome. You're learning different cultures, so yeah.
Yeah, for me, I was pretty familiar with English culture because my days at Fairfield, probably from the time I started to the time I finished, went to school with about a dozen or so English guys, many of whom are back in England. So I've been able to reconnect with old friends, which has been super, super nice. Obviously, a little closer to London, so a great restaurant scene. And I was able to also check out the Harry Potter world, so that was pretty cool too. So other than that, driving on the other side of the road, I found to be quite fun. And I still call them traffic circles and not roundabouts.
That's very East Coast.
Yeah.
Next will be Leander Sherlockins.
Hey, Brenden, question for you. This is your 3rd season in Europe, so I imagine you've gotten pretty used to the fall-spring sort of rhythm. How disruptive does it feel to now have a World Cup in November? How much does that kind of change up just the rhythm and the cadence of your season on a club level and on a national team level?
Yeah, I mean, this year when you look at it, you take a step back. It's like, wow, this is a crazy year with a lot of games, and it's just all kind of like just clumped in together, you know. So as a player, you know, I mean, you have to really look after yourself. You have to try to stay healthy as best you can, do everything you can to look after yourself, train more, and yeah, be ready for these kinds of things. But you know, I'm always a guy that I focus in the moment, you know, and I feel like that's what helped me get to where I am today. And I think that every single day I show up to training and do what I can to get better in that day. And so my focus is all on Leeds at the time, but now focus on national team, two games, getting the results that we need, and yeah, showing confidence, and then going to the World Cup.
Next will be Megan Swanwick from The Guardian.
Hey guys, my question is somewhat similar to Henry's question. I'm curious if you could each just say a little bit about what it's been like being in the United Kingdom during the passing of Queen Elizabeth.
It's been a hard time for a lot of people, actually. So I'm not sure like how I feel. Like it was weird being an outsider there at the same time, but just having conversations with people, understanding the impact that the Queen had on so many people, 70-year reign. She impacted so many countless lives across the time, and you know, it was kind of like during the moment of silence before we played Brentford, I was trying to ground myself, and I just thought about how momentous all of this was, and kind of how it was great that the country stopped and took a second. In this world, we can get caught up in the hustle and bustle of things, and something crazy happens and we just put it in the rearview mirror. But to really take the time to honor her life and her legacy, I thought was really spectacular, and it's something that will stay with me for the rest of my life. I'll never forget it because it was the night of my debut, and when we gave a moment of silence at halftime.
Yeah, and for me, I think, like I said, Matt says it pretty well every single time, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, it was like you said. I think it was kind of weird because you're an outsider, you're coming in, and it's a different environment. You don't really know how much of a big deal it really is. And then you do a little research, you talk to some people, and it means so much to people. So to be there during that time, yes, it's tough. You see a lot of people that are going through sometimes because she affected so many people's lives, but. Yeah, to just see this and kind of go through this, it's tough, but it really opens your eyes, and yeah, I think everybody mourned, so yeah, it was tough times.
Next will be Sam Stasel.
Thanks, Michael. My question is for Matt. Matt, it's been a little bit of a rotating cast of characters at center back over the last few windows, with guys getting hurt, different guys getting called up. Curious for you as a goalkeeper how that semi lack of continuity affects things from an organization standpoint in front of you, especially with not much time to go before Qatar.
Yeah, obviously you want things to be set in stone, just to be more and more comfortable, know players' tendencies. But I'd argue that with the way that this team is, the close-knit nature of our group, it doesn't really matter who you slot in. You know what the expectation is. You know how they're supposed to play. You know each player's tendencies. Because even though it has been a rotating cast of characters, overall, it's kind of been the same few guys. So you're used to, you know what to expect. And as a goalkeeper, that's the challenge, right? Is understanding the players that you have in front of you, knowing how they communicate, how to get the best out of them. And I think that those are some of the biggest strengths of mine, are my ability to communicate, my ability to talk through scenarios on and off the field, get to know guys, get the best out of them, and ultimately, hopefully, win games and get clean sheets.
Next will be Ryan Talmadge from Goal.com.
Thanks, Michael. And hey, Brenden, I wanted to ask you about just sort of the reception at Leeds. You look within a month of your debut, they have a song for you. They're singing for you, and they have a chant for you, and have really kind of adopted you as one of their own within the first month of you being there. What's that kind of been like, the adjusting to that and the process of coming to Leeds? And on the flip side of that, what's it been like seeing the reception from the U.S.? You look at the TV schedules, and they've been bumping, some of the big six teams to put Leeds on because so many people are following you. What's that kind of all been like, kind of living in that for the first month or 2 months since you've gotten there?
Honestly, a whirlwind. Going in for preseason, you don't really know what to expect. You're taking the next step, and you're kind of going in. You're like, oh, like, am I at this level sometimes? And then it's like ups and downs. But I think I had a good preseason, and it kind of just pushed into the normal season. And I think I was just able to just kind of click with the team, click with the coach, click with the players, and it felt like just a seamless fit for me. And then comes along the fans, and I feel like just off the bat, I'm really grateful for all the support that they've given me. They see how much I work and how much I'm willing to work for the team, and I'll always give 110%. And I think that they like that, and that's the kind of team we have. So that's also amazing to see. And I think that I'm really grateful to be at Leeds, and I think everybody can see that I'm willing to work 110% and give everything I can to help the team win. And I just want to keep getting better and better, and become the best player I can be, and hopefully be a legend for the club at some point.
We have time for a few more, and we'll continue with Jim Alexander.
Thank you, Michael. Something I've always been curious about, and I want to get both of your perspectives on this. You're playing a club schedule, and now you're called into the national team, and now you've got a whole different set of teammates, and you know most of them because you're all in the national team pool. But how long does it take to really bond into a unit? Does it take hours, days, a week, what have you? And is there more urgency because of the fact that you've got a World Cup in the middle of your club schedules?
I come into camp and I greet everybody as like, it's amazing seeing them. I feel like it's just such a close-knit group. I get along with everybody here. There's not one person that I don't tend to go towards. Everybody's just such a nice. I think the personalities here, I think that's what kind of brings it all together. Is he's done a good job of picking the guys that have great personalities and are willing to do it for the team too. So I think that's just the way this team is. Everybody's willing to work for each other, and yeah, it's really special coming into camp and seeing a lot of these guys, and I think that's what makes this team a unit.
Yeah, I'd say I touched on it a little bit, like when we were talking about the center backs, but yes, it's been rotating about who's starting, but in general, it's been sort of the same guys, and so it makes these transitions easier and easier, and you know, a lot of these guys went through that pressure cooker, went through that World Cup qualifying cycle, and all that does is bring us closer and closer together. And I think that this will be a good test for us because we have a few days to train in a game and followed by another game shortly thereafter. And with the way the World Cup is, you're not going to have that few weeks of time to get together and bond and connect and you know, assimilate new personalities and faces into the group. It's really just like another game week. You sort of show up, train for a few days, and you're on the world's biggest stage. So I think this will be a great camp for us to sort of click into what that's going to be like. And I think, like Brenden said, it's a close-knit group, so I don't foresee it being a real big issue.
We'll go to John Lupo from Pablo.
This question is for both of you, really. Matt, you just mentioned that you're going to have a game against Japan and then a game soon after against Saudi Arabia. Do you feel like with the World Cup being so close, do you feel like that'll get you into a good rhythm for what you're going to face when you get into the World Cup? And also, if I could also ask, what is Greg's stress now that you got into camp? What is Greg's stress now that these are the last two friendlies before the World Cup begin? Has he stressed anything different from, say, if these were a couple of months ago, or is it basically the same?
Well, we haven't quite had our intro to camp meeting yet, so. But I'd say I think the message is clear, and it has been since we played those friendlies back in June. It's another opportunity for us to get out on the field against teams that are going to be playing in the World Cup, test ourselves against opponents from a different region that we don't often play against, and yeah, I think that's the big picture of this one is playing World Cup caliber teams. And getting together and creating those bonds still.
Yeah, and for me, I think that Greg does a great job with the intro to camps and what we want to do for the camp. But I also don't think he's going to treat it as any other camp. You know, I don't think he wants to put pressure on anything. I think that he does a really good job of we're just going to play these two games. We're gonna do what we've done in all the rest of the games, and we're going to try to get the results that we want. And finally, that will transfer into going to the World Cup. So I don't think he's going to treat it as any differently.
Next is Brenda Alvarado.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, Matt. Hi, Brenden. Nice to say hello to you, Brenda Alvarado from Fox Sports Mexico. My question is for both. Of the CONCACAF teams that will be in the World Cup, how much of an advantage or benefit does the U.S. have to face teams like England or Wales, who have players that you guys face every week in the Premier League and in some way know their style?
I wouldn't say it's any more of an advantage than any other CONCACAF team. I think in our group, the average FIFA ranking is the lowest out of any group, something along those lines. So we're playing against tough physical teams, Wales and England with a lot of experience on their squads, good on set pieces, organized, games that will certainly be extremely challenging, and then an Iran team that hopefully playing Morocco back in June, Saudi Arabia, Japan, teams from that region will give us a little bit of insight into what to expect in that game. So I think the World Cup can be the great equalizer, right? Like Germany won the World Cup and then didn't advance out of the group stage the next time. So anything can happen, and there's no real advantages or disadvantages.
I agree with Matt. I think that the World Cup's just a completely different playing field. You know, I think that it's just, I mean, people go out there and you just see completely different performances. You know, it's in the moment. It's the biggest stage in the world. I think that you don't really know what to expect, you know. So I think that the games can go any way, but I feel like, the group is hard. I think any team that gets the World Cup is a great team. So it's definitely tough for every team that's in the World Cup. So I don't think we have any benefits.
as usual, Matt has done his homework based on average FIFA ranking. We are in the toughest group in the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Last question comes from Andrew Jones.
Thank you, Michael. Matt, first, congratulations again on you being a father. And I want to ask you, just facing off against Tahiro Tamiyasu, your club teammate at Arsenal, as well as also if you have any funny Mikel Arteta story for how intense he is. And Brenden, for you, had a chance to talk to your brother at the CONCACAF in the 20s and how he said his grandma, he gave a tear to her with how he performed. Your whole thoughts about how he performed in that tournament, as well as the fun conversation you and Tyler may have had with Christian after getting that win against him.
You go first.
Yeah, for my brother, I mean, I'm proud of everything that he's accomplished so far in his career. I know we've had a little bit of a different path, but I think he's on the right path, and I think that he's going to end up having a fantastic career. With the U20 CONCACAF, I was at home at the time, and I was able to watch every game, and I thought his performances were outstanding. I think it showed what kind of quality he has as a player. I think he's a goal scorer. You know, you can see it. A lot of people can see this, and he's a creator, so it just was a glimpse of what he can do. And, yeah, going to what we were talking about after, I mean, you could probably guess it by now after the Leeds game. Me, Christian, and Tyler were talking about golf and getting out. So that's what we were talking about after the game.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting to play against Super Tamiyasu. It's gonna be he's just like such a great person. He's such a great guy to be around. You know, we eat meals together from time to time. I'll see him in the locker room, say, "Hey, Tommy, let's go get some food," and he's always down for that. So he's just like an 8 out of 10 person. You know what you're gonna get from him every single day. He brings a great bite and intensity into training, and then he loves to have a little bit of a laugh off of it. So I'm really looking forward to getting to match up against him in the game on Friday. And then the boss, the gaffer, he's a great person to be around. He cares so deeply for the club and for each player that's on the roster, and that's really, really nice to be around. I don't know if I have any particularly funny stories, but I do remember one of my first training sessions, I gave the ball, like we were playing like a small possession game, and it was really, really tight, and I tried to make a pass and I gave the ball away, and I sort of visually like got frustrated and upset, and he just came up to me and shoved me. And basically it was like, I don't want to see that. I don't like seeing that reaction. Like, I want to see you like pick yourself up and keep going. And I think that really set the tone for my mentality within the club, and just to keep going no matter what. If you fail, that's all right. What matters is how you react, not about the failure in itself. So that was a really nice moment.
Thank you, Brenden. Thank you, Matt, and to everyone for joining us this afternoon. We'll be back the same time tomorrow with Jesus Ferreira and Walker Zimmerman. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.